let's talk a little bit about toxicity. So one of the things that gamers struggle with is that their brains are so used to, like, the more you play games, and men especially are really good at this. We're really good at suppressing our emotions, and games actually shut off our emotional circuitry. And so what happens is gamers become something called alexithymic. So alexithymia is the inability to recognize your internal emotional state. And so what happens is a lot of gamers actually are their emotions rolling around inside of them, but they're not aware of them because there are parts of their brain that are kind of suppressing them all the time. So let's say that, like, I get into a fight with my parents and then I turn on a video game and then, like, all those emotions just get shut off. And so a lot of times what happens with gamers is that they feel like everything is fine. They feel like, oh yeah, they're happy and they're healthy and they enjoy gaming. But what actually happens is they have a lot of subsurface emotions that they're not even aware of. And that's what alexithymia is. And then what happens is those emotions kind of bubble to the surface and start to impact their life. So what ends up happening is when they're alexithymic is gamers get this illusion that they're not actually experiencing negative emotions. And a lot of gamers that I talk to, I'll ask them, like, what's your relationship with your emotions? I mean, I won't ask that because that's a weird question. Like, I don't know how even I would answer that. But then the more I ask them about essentially the relationship to their emotions, what they come back with is that, oh, I'm in control of my emotions. And so when we talk about that, like, the funny thing about gamers is that they feel like they're in control of their emotions. And by control of their emotions, what that means is that they can watch, like, let's say a sad movie, and, like, everyone else around them is crying, but they're not crying. And so they're also, like, able to be in uncomfortable situations and, like, be kind of essentially like a blank slate. And so if we really think about it, what that means is that a lot of gamers, it's not that they're in control of their emotions, like Vulcans. What that really means is that they're just, they just know how to suppress their emotions. And as those emotions get suppressed, it's kind of like this emotional, like, pile is, like, building and building and building inside you. And I'll give you guys kind of an example from my personal life. Like, I remember feeling like a failure, right? So I would wake up every day, I would skip class, I would, like, game until I was exhausted, and I'd, like, pass out at 4 a.m. And every day that went by, I'd feel more and more like a failure. And the only way that I could tolerate those feelings was by escaping through gaming. And then I kind of got stuck because what would happen is, like, every day that goes by, I'm not moving forward in life, and I'm actually failing in life more and more and more and more. And the only way that I could, so, like, day 1, let's say I feel like a failure 5 out of 10. And day 2, it's 6 out of 10 because now I've fucked up for 2 days. Day 3 is 7 out of 10. And so I'm digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And the more and more failure I feel inside me, the more I have to turn to video games to, like, make that feeling of failure go away. And so the more I turn to video games, the more stuck I get. And so it's this vicious cycle. And so gamers kind of get into this. And so the only way that they learn how to manage their emotions, because gaming leads to escapism, is through playing video games. And so they have this gigantic pile of emotion that's building up. And I remember for me, sometimes, like, there's some moments, and if you guys really pay attention to your lives, maybe you can find out, like, when are these moments. But for me, there were some moments that the emotions would just come flooding back and be, like, completely overwhelming. And for me, that was when I was going to bed at night, right? So I'd, like, finish gaming, and if I got into bed and, like, my mind would start to wander, it would start to think about how I was screwing up my life. And I would feel such an overwhelming sense of hopelessness, shame, and guilt that it was, like, intolerable. So what I had to do was game so much until I got so mentally exhausted that when I hit the sack, I would just pass out.